Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Shalom and good evening to the whole Ba'if, the whole house of Yahshua, all 12 tribes worldwide, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this evening. Shalom and Barak that is to say peace and blessings to you and your entire house. Shalom to the elder brother Yahudym. Shalom to the younger brother Ephraim. Shalom to the former stranger, the former foreigner, who was formerly estranged from the everlasting covenant, but having received the ruach of adoption, and having become adopted sons and daughters via the ruach HaKadosh, who is the ruach of the Mashiach, YAHUAH'S HaMashiach, and whereby now having been engrafted into the olive tree, who is YAHUAH'S HaMashiach, who is Yahshua, and whereby now being made privy to the same everlasting covenant and promise and inheritance that was given to Yahshua and to Yahshua alone. Shalom to you. Shalom, peace and blessings. Shalom and Barak to you and your entire house, wherever your feet are touching the soil on this La'ilah, on this evening. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. To those of you who are on YouTube, once again, we're humbled and grateful that the Master Yahuwah has sent you our way to fellowship with us, albeit this will be later on for you who are on YouTube, to fellowship with us on our midweek gathering. And so we say once again, welcome to you. You could be in many other places listening to a plethora of other YouTube channels. There is no shortage of YouTube channels. There is no shortage of people who want to speak in this season, who want to teach, who want to proclaim. There's no shortage of them. And so we're grateful, however, that the Master has sent you our way to join us, Yahuwah's remnant, in our midweek gathering. Nevertheless, I am Dawood Ban Yahuwah, and this is my Aisha Ashiyah.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. And once again, to those of you who are on YouTube who will hear this message, this teaching later on, once again, if you would desire to join us live, either for our midweek fourth day gatherings or either for our Shabbat gatherings, you can find our contact information. It is located in the channel description. You will find an email address there in which you may contact us to discuss fellowshipping with us. Nevertheless, there is a word from the Master for his remnant people. And I emphasize remnant people. Yahuwah has not sent me to any other. He is not. If you have ears to hear, if you have a heart to understand and eyes to see, these words that are being spoken through the mouth of his servant will bear witness to you that he has not sent me to anyone else in this season. He has sent me and called me to speak to a remnant people, to a remnant people in this Mu'adah, in this appointed season, in this, the consummation of times, to call them to take an introspective look at themselves, to take an introspective look at the inner man, at the inner heart, to ensure that they are found worthy to escape the hour of trial in which is soon to come upon this earth. He has not sent me to anyone else because no one else, quite frankly, is listening. And that it's okay. Whether they hear or whether they forbear, I'm going to speak anyway. I'm going to speak as long as the Master gives me breath and as long as he gives me utterance to speak. I'm going to speak and I'm going to walk in my calling until Yahuwah willing he takes me and brings me to his Kadosh mountain, where I will be given a song that no one else can sing. Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. And so we continue this journey tonight. For those of you who are on YouTube, I'm not going to do a replay tonight. Each fourth day and each Shabbat, the Master has me do somewhat of a replay of what was discussed the previous week. But you're going to have to go and look at the previous videos, and you're going to have to catch up because this season is too important. It is too important not to be in the know, as the Master now is revealing secrets to us that he has revealed to no other generation. no other generation. That the books are open in this generation, and he's revealing things to us that he has not revealed to any other generation. And that is indeed a testament of the times and the season that we are in. Indeed, this season is unlike any other season in the history of man. This is a season in which the master is going about the business of sealing his people with the seal of the living Elohim. And after he has sealed the number of those people, in which the scriptures tells us is 144,000, he will not seal anymore. He will not seal anymore. In fact, the words of the master are these, that there's coming a time, very soon there is coming a time when men are going to seek him, but he will not be found by them. Once he removes the light from this earth, once he removes the living water, once he removes breath, once he removes himself and his called out people, men are going to search for him, but he will not be found by them. This is the importance and the urgency of this season. To seek him while he may be found. To seek him and to ensure, as he has been teaching us, to ensure that we are not serene. To be a Nazarene is to be a true Yahudi. To be a Yahudine, a true Yahudine, is a Nazarene, in which he has shown us means to be one who is attached to him as a vine, as his bride. And if we are truly attached to him, then that means that we are going to take on his identity. We are going to look like our husband. We're going to walk like our husband. We're going to speak like our husband. We are going to be his counterpart on earth in this season. We are going to be his helpmeet. We are going to be his Azah Nagah. We are going to be Torah made flesh. We're going to be lights in the midst of the nations, such that as this light is being shown in this season in the midst of the nations, that those who are in darkness will be drawn from darkness into his marvelous light, as moths are drawn to candles. He has shown us that in this season, that indeed he has shown us a marvelous work, a marvelous love story taking place, in which it's all about the redemption of a woman. It's all about the restoration of the woman. And he has shown us in this season that half of the woman, half of that woman, now I'm not going to go into detail about that for you. For those of you who are on YouTube, you're going to have to go and look at the previous videos. But he has shown us in this season that half of the woman, who is the elder woman, who is used interchangeably as the elder woman with the elder son, and that being Yahudym, it is she who is going to go first, in accordance with the Torah, as the elder daughter is to be given in marriage first. He has shown us, however, that to be that elder daughter, to be that elder son, it means to be a branch. It means to be an extension of him. It means to be born of him. This is what it means to have the seal of the living Elohim. It means to be born of Hamashiach. As Kua was born of Adam, he being the second Adam. To be a Nazarene, a branch, of branches, means to be born from him. It means to be his bride. It means to be his wife. It means to be an extension of him. It means to be his counterpart, his helpmeet, his Azah Nagah. It means to be someone who has taken on his identity. As it is ordained that a wife is to, when she is joined to her husband, when they become one flesh, they are no longer two, they are one. That the wife, she loses her identity. She loses her self-will. She loses her self-desire where her husband's will becomes her will. His desire becomes her desire. And she then begins to take on his identity as they are no longer two but one. The rib has been returned to him. And as the rib has been returned to his side, as they become one flesh, she begins to take on his identity. She begins to look like him, talk like him, walk like him, do the things that he does. And this is what it means to be a Nazarene. This is what it means to be a true Yahudi. It means to be an extension from our master's side, our husband's side, taking on his character, taking on his nature, taking on his identity as a dutiful wife, being his counterpart in this season, his Azah Nagab, his suitable helpmeet, being as he was and is a light in the midst of the earth, in the midst of the nations, being just as he is, a living Torah, lights in the midst of the nations, so that when he comes back soon to identify his people, that we, having done the work while it is still day, understanding that night is coming, and so that no man can work, having done the work and having been found well doing, having been found looking like him, walking like him, talking like him, having been found worthy, we will hear those most coveted words. Well done, my good and my trustworthy servant. Indeed, it is Judah, it is Yahudah who goes first. It is Yahudah who will be brought to the mountain, to his Kadush mountain. It is Yahudah who will be brought into the land, back into the land first. But as he has taught us, not all who say that they are Yahudym are Yahudym. We must bear the fruit. And that is the fruit of righteousness. We must look like righteousness. Yahuwah Zadakanu, Yahuwah is our righteousness, who is Yahusha. We must look like him. We must look like him and behave like him in every way. And therein lies the challenge. That's not an easy task. That's not an easy task. It is if we are attached to him and we do not pander to our flesh, but that we take on his yoke, because his yoke is easy and his burden is light, and we can do all things through him who give us strength. Then the weight of the Torah becomes bearable for us. It becomes obtainable for us if we are in him and him in us, whereby being born from him, whereby being born from Ruach, whereby being born of blood and of water. Yes, as dam and water rushed from his side when the Roman soldier pierced his side, symbolic of life, because as dam is life, water is life, dam and water is Ruach. Being joined to him, being joined to his side, where the blood and the water rushed from his side as a vine, as a Nazarene. If we have been born from him, truly born from him, and whereby becoming his counterpart, whereby becoming his helpmeet, whereby becoming his bride, whereby becoming true Yahudi, whereby becoming Nazarene, all things are possible. And we will do the work in this season, and we will be found well doing. And as it is written in his word, Yahudah will go first. Yahudah will go first. And so if you are taking notes, the title of this message is Searching for the Ancient Path, Part 61. Walk as Yahudym. Walk as Yahudym. As previously spoken, I'm not going to do a review. I'm not going to do a replay. We're just going to get right into this segment of the message. The foundation has already been laid. If you haven't heard the foundation of the previous messages, stop this video right now and go back and listen to the previous messages, because you're doing yourself a disservice. So we're not going to do a replay. We're not going to do a replay. We're going straight ahead. We're going forward. We're going forward now. Each of these messages is different. Each one is different. They're not the same. Each one is different. And so this will not be a replay. We're going forward. We're going straight ahead to Mount Zion. If you're welcome to come on board. You're welcome to come on board. But we're not looking back. We're going straight ahead. Searching for the ancient path, part 61. Walk as Yahudym. Walk as Yahudym. We must be found walking as Yahudym, to be counted worthy as Yahudym, to be included in the number of Yahudah. To be included in the number of Yahudah, we must be found walking worthily as Yahudym. As Yahudym. And that means to be, again, attached to the branch, attached to a Yehudi man, Yahushua HaMashiach, and walking as he walked. And if we are connected to him, we cannot help but truly connected to him. We cannot help but walk as he walked. This is the recipe. This is the recipe to salvation. If we walk as he walked, specifically in this season, whereby being counted worthy to be called Yahudym, he has promised to keep us from the hour of trial and bring us to his Kadosh mountain and give us a song that no one else can sing. But we must walk worthily. We must walk like him. We must look like him. We must take on his identity. And so if you're still taking notes, if we have a subtitle for this teaching, that subtitle would be, and is, Meek and Lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. Because if you read the text, in particular Revelation chapter 3 and in particular Revelation 7 and Revelation 14, there is an exaltation that is taking place there. There is an exaltation when those who are Yahudym, those who say they are Yahudym but are not, come and worship before our feet, worship before us. That is an exaltation. That is us being exalted to an exalted state. But if you are already exalted, again, walking around as you are already King Judah, that's not for you. That's not for you. The Master has sent me by to tell you that meek and lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. Just like our Master, just like our husband, meek and lowly is the way. This is the way. This is the way that men will be drawn to him. It's not about us. And the Master has previously spoken to us that in this walk as a Yahudi, that it is going to cause humiliation. And the word humility is humiliation. To humble ourselves means that at some point that we will be humiliated. And so, but the point is, it's not about us. It's about the Master. He was humiliated. He humbled himself. He was humiliated. So what makes you think as his bride, as a branch of his, taking on his identity, that you won't be humiliated? We will be humiliated if you desire to get to Mount Zion. We will be humiliated. And in walking in that humility, meek and lowly and mild, that in itself will draw men to him. As he said, as it is written in his word, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. That was an humiliation. That he was humiliated on the stake. He was humiliated. He was sorely humbled on the stake. Hear him. He was stripped naked. He was stripped naked. Not a stitch of clothing was on him. As he bore the shame of his people, his shame was exposed. His nakedness was exposed. And his nakedness was exposed because he came to bear our shame. He came to bear our nakedness. He was humiliated. He was humiliated. He was mocked. He suffered on that stake. All of his life was poured out on that stake in accordance with the Torah. All of his blood was poured out, and they walked by and they mocked him. If you are the son of Elohim, save yourself. You saved others, save yourself. Not understanding that he came to bear their shame, to bear their nakedness, to bear their crookedness. And so a true Yahudi will be humiliated, will humble him or herself. A true Yahudi will be hated of all men for his name's sake. Will be hated of all men for his name's sake. A true Yahudi, when we get to Mount Zion, it's going to have very little strength left. Very little strength. Very little power left when we get to Mount Zion. This is what a true Yahudi looks like. And so the master, he has given us these words. He says, count up the cost, Yahudah. He says, count up the cost. You want to be counted amongst the Yahudym on Mount Zion? You want to be the first to enter into the land? The master is saying to you, Yahudah, count up the cost, because you're going to have to walk like him. He is our example. He is a Yahudi man. And we're supposed to take on his identity. So he's saying count up the cost, because you're going to have to give up everything. Everything. You're going to have to pour it all out. As he poured all out for us, we've got to pour all out for him. And that path to Mount Zion will not be easy. Many call themselves Yahudah. Many call themselves Yahudym. But as spoken to you, Zoom family, in private, there are only 12,000 from the tribe of Judah that are going to Mount Zion. 12,000. Only 12,000, albeit all that are attached to Yahudah will be called Yahudym, are and will be called Yahudym, but there are only 12,000 from the tribe of Yahudah which are going to Mount Zion. Hear him. Hear him. In order for Ephraim to gain life, and for the other half of the woman to be joined with Yahudah, so that the woman becomes whole and be joined and will be joined to the second Adam. In order for Ephraim to reach that point, they've got to go to the great distress. They've got to go through the great distress because they're stiff-necked, they're walking in accordance to their flesh, and they must be corrected via the chastening rod of the great distress. Oh, if the master does not shorten those days, no flesh is going to remain. The words of Kapha are these. I'm going to paraphrase. If the righteous are scarcely saved, where shall the wicked be? If the righteous, Yahudah, are scarcely saved, where shall the wicked be? You think you're going to get to Mount Zion easily, and they got to go through the great distress? Have you lost your mind? You're going to be humiliated. You're going to be mocked. You're going to give up all, and you're going to have very little strength left. Just like our master. Just like our master. If you desire to get to Mount Zion, you're going to give up all. You're going to give up all. There may come a time when we're going to have to flee our homes. I don't know. There may come a time when you're going to lose your job. Here's what I know. This earth that we see now, it ain't going to never be the same again. This thing that's going around in the earth that they will not allow to die, it's purposeful. They won't allow it to die because this earth is never going to be the same again. It's never going to be the same again. We're not too far away from the pit being open and these demons coming up from the pit, stinging all men who doesn't have the seal of the living Elohim upon their forehead. We're talking about the precursor to chaos. A precursor to chaos. Yahudah It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. He has promised us, however, if we guard his word of endurance, that he will keep us from the time, from the hour of distress. But leading up to that, Yahudah, it's not going to be easy. And in those trials and in those hard times, Yahudah, you are going to still be called to be a light to the nations, because some perhaps will be called out of darkness and drawn to this light as moths are drawn to candles, and perhaps escape the hour of trial because of the light, because of us being a living Torah in the midst of them. It's not going to be easy. And so the Master, he's getting ready to take us on a journey to look at this Yahudi, to look at this Yahudi, Yahuwah in flesh, in the person of Yahushua HaMashiach, so that in the words of John, Yahuchanan in the 2nd chapter, 1 John, Yahuchanan in the 2nd chapter, that we are found walking like him, that we have taken on his identity, that we are indeed Nazarene, having been born from him, having been taken from his side like Kua, and being his counterpart on earth, being his Azan Nagah, being his helpmeet on earth in this Muadah, in this season. And so we get into that. Before we get into that the Master wants to remind you that there's nothing new under the sun. That there's nothing new under the sun. He wants us to turn now to Amos, or Amos, the 8th chapter. Amos, or Amos, the 8th chapter. Amos, or Amos, if those of you who don't know or understand, I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but Amos, he prophesied to the northern kingdom. He prophesied to Ephraim, to Ephraim. And so if some of you out there who are going to listen to this later on, if you've listened to some of these previous videos and your characteristics do not line up with that of Yahudah, with that of a Nazarene, that means that you are perhaps attached to Ephraim. You are still a child. You're still walking according to your flesh, and the Master is going to have to drive some of the folly out of you. But nevertheless, Amos, he prophesied to the northern kingdom, to the northern 10 tribes, to Yashar'al, to Ephraim. This is important because recently the Master spoke. He said, they're going to look for me, but I will not be found by them. Remnant within the remnant. After the remnant within the remnant is taken, the world, the nations are going to look for him, but they are not going to be found by him. This is you, Ephraim. This is you. You're not in a position to teach anyone, Ephraim. You can't teach anyone walking according to your flesh. And you can't teach anyone because you're still divorced from the Master. You've got to follow protocol. Because you are divorced, you've got to attach yourself to a Yahudi man. In particular, Yahushua HaMashiach. And in doing so, you become attached to Yahudah. Provided that you began to walk as that Yahudi man, and you began to walk as Yahudah, as a Nazarene. You ain't got no business teaching anyone. You have no business teaching anyone. You're not exalting him. You're merely exalting yourself. In fact, that's why you're teaching. Because you want you want to be exalted. You want the attention. You want to be out front. It's not about the Master. It's about you. It's all about you, Ephraim. For this reason, you were dispersed. You were divorced in 722 BCE and scattered amongst the nations. Because it was about you. It was about you, and it's still about you. It's still about you. Forsake your ways. Forsake your idols. This is even for you who call yourselves Yahudym, but don't bear the fruit of a Yahudym, but rather bear the fruit of an Ephraim. This is for you as well. There is nothing new under the sun. This is the consummation of the times that we are living in. This is an appointed time in which the Master is sealing his people with the seal of the living Elohim. And once he has sealed the number of his people, he will seal no more. And you will search for him, and you will not find him, Ephraim. You will search for him, but you will not find him. You deny the living bread now. You deny the bread from Shamayim now, who is YAHUAH'S Mashiach, who is the Ruach HaKadosh. You deny him now when he removes his breath, when he removes his people, when he removes Yahudah, when he removes himself from the earth so that Hashatan can rule here. You will look for him, but you will not find him. You will search for him, but he will not be found by you. Amos chapter 8, Amos chapter 8. Which verse is, little one?
The entire chapter.
The entire chapter, I'm sorry. Amos or Amos chapter 8, the entire chapter. Beginning at verse 1. Come on, read for us, little one.
This is what the Master Yahuwah showed me. And see a basket of summer fruit. And he said, Amos, what do you see? And I said, a basket of summer fruit. And Yahuwah said to me, the end has come upon my people, Yasharal.
The end has come upon my people, Yasharal. There's nothing too new under the sun. This has a duality. Amos prophesied to them to forewarn them of captivity, which took place in 722 BCE. But if you have any understanding, you understand that Yahuwah's distress is judgment. It is judgment upon his people. It is judgment upon Ephraim. And the same thing that happened before is getting ready to happen once again. This is the judgment, the final judgment upon his people, Yasha'al, in order to correct them, to bring them back into the bond of covenant with him. Come on, read, little one.
No longer do I pardon them, and the songs of the Hakal shall be wailing in that day, declares the Master Yahuwah. Many dead bodies everywhere.
Listen, many dead bodies everywhere. Read Revelation. Read the book. Many dead bodies everywhere. Bodies stacked on top of bodies, Ephraim. Because you refuse to look at the example, the nature, and the character of a Yahudi man, Yahushua HaMashiach. You want to make excuses. You want to say, well, it's not possible to be perfect. You're a liar and the truth is not in you. If those words come from your mouth, you speak falsehood. It is possible to be perfect if we are attached to him. And if you desire to get to Mount Zion, you will be perfect. You will walk perfectly as he walked perfectly. You're a liar and the truth is not in you. Stop making excuses and walk like this Yahudi man. Become attached to him and become a Nazarene. Become his counterpart. Become his bride. Become his helpmeet in the midst of the earth in this season. Come on, read, little one.
Thrown into any place. Hush. Hear this, you who are swallowing up the needy, to do away with the poor of the land, saying, when does the new month pass, so that we sell grain and the Shabbat, so that we trade our wheat to make the alpha small and the shekel large, and to falsify the scales by deceit, to buy the poor for silver and the needy for a pair of sandals, and sell the chaff of wheat. Yahuwah has sworn by the excellency of Yaakov, I shall never forget any of their works. Shall the land not tremble for this?
Shall the land not tremble? The whole earth is going to tremble for this. Read.
And everyone mourn who dwells in it, and all of it shall swell like the river, heave and subside like the river of Mitzrayim. And it shall be in that day, declares the Master Yahuwah, that I shall cause the sun to go down at noon, and I shall darken the earth on a day of brightness, and shall turn your festivals into mourning, and all your songs into lamentation.
This is coming, Ephraim. This is coming. Oh, that darkness is coming. That chaos, that distress, which darkness is symbolic of, is coming upon your head. Come on, read.
And bring sackcloth on all loins, and baldness on every head, and shall make it like mourning for an only son, and its end like a day of bitterness. See, days are coming, declares the Master Yahuwah.
Days are coming, read.
That I shall send a hunger in the land, not a hunger for bread,
not a hunger for bread,
nor a thirst for water,
nor a thirst for water,
but for hearing the words of Yahuwah.
But for hearing the words of Yahuwah, read.
And they shall wander from sea to sea.
And they shall wander from sea to sea. Read.
And from north to east.
And from north to east. Read.
They shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yahuwah.
They shall diligently search, seeking the word of Yahuwah. Read.
But they shall not find it.
But they shall not find it.
In that day the beautiful maidens and strong young men shall faint from thirst. Those swearing by the gift of Shamaroon, who say, as your mighty one lives, O Dan, and as the way of Bathsheba lives, and they shall fall and never rise again.
And they shall fall and never rise again. Ephraim, and those of you who say that you are Yahudym, but your fruit, the fruit bears witness of you being actually an Ephraim. A time is coming soon when you will search for him, but he will not be found by you. A time is coming when he is going to remove himself, when he's going to remove his word from this earth, and you are going to search for him, and he will not be found by you. Seek him while he may be found. Seek him. Become a Nazarene and walk requisite as a Nazarene. Assume his identity, assume his image, and walk as this Yahudi man while he may be found by you. Come on, read, little one.
Isaiah 55, the whole chapter.
Isaiah 55. Isaiah 55 in its entirety. Isaia, chapter 55 in its entirety. There are many who got very excited when they heard the revelation that Yahudah is going first. Many got excited and many celebrated. Many were glad to hear those words of truth. They are indeed words of truth. But now the work begins. You have to be found worthy of being called Yahudi. You have to be found worthy of being called Nazarene. You've got to look like him. Hear him. We've got to look like him. We've got to have his very character and his very nature. We've got to look like him, and we've got to walk like him. We got to walk like him. Just like him. We've got to walk like Yahushua HaMashiach. We've got to walk like the second Adam if we desire to make it to Mount Zion. If he came to show us the example, to show us the way of how we are to walk, how we are to carry ourselves. We are to walk like him. We are to look like him, a true Yahudi man. Ha, not Sa, the branch. We must be not serene, and we must walk exactly as he walked. Perfectly, if we desire to make it to Mount Zion, we must walk and look like him. Isaiah chapter 55, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read, little one.
O everyone who thirsts, come to the waters, and you who have no silver, come buy and eat. Come buy wine and milk without silver and without price. Why do you weigh out silver for what is not bread, and your labor for what does not satisfy? Listen to me and eat what is good, and let your being delight itself in fatness. Incline your ear and come to me. Hear so that your being lives, and let me make an everlasting covenant with you, the trustworthy loving commitments of Daud. See, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader and a commander for the people. See, a nation you do not know shall call, and a nation who does not know you run to you, because of Yahuwah your Elohim, and the Kadosh one of Yasharal, for he has adorned you. Seek Yahuwah while he is to be found.
Seek Yahuwah while he is to be found. Hear him. Seek Yahuwah while he is to be found. This is the consummation of the times. There is a time coming upon this earth very soon when he has sealed the number of his people, that you will search for him and he will not be found by you. To be sealed by him is to be born of him, is to be born from his side as a Nazarene. And if you are truly a Nazarene, you will take on his very nature. You will take on his very character. You will look like him. You will talk like him. You will walk like him. You will bear the fruit of a Nazarene. You will bear the fruit of righteousness that leads to everlasting life. We cannot fool ourselves. We cannot fool ourselves. He's calling upon us to grow up in this season. Yahudah is the elder son. Yahudah is the elder daughter. He's calling upon us to grow up in this season, to put away childish things, to put away childish things, and to walk as adults, to walk as full-grown Yahudym, full-grown Nazarene, looking just like our husband, taking on his very character and his very nature. Come on, read, little one.
Call on him while he is near.
Call on him while he is near.
Let the wrong forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to Yahuwah, who has compassion on him, and to our Elohim, for he pardons much. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares Yahuwah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. For as the rain comes down and the snow from the heavens, and do not return there, but water the earth and make it bring forth and bud, and give seed to the sower and bread to the eater, so is my word that goes forth from my mouth. It does not return to me empty, but shall do what I please, and shall certainly accomplish what I sent it for. For with joy you go out, and with shalom you are brought in. The mountains and the hills break forth into singing before you, and all the trees of the field clap the hands. Instead of the thorns, the cypress comes up, and instead of the nettle, the myrtle comes up. And it shall be to Yahuwah for a name, for an everlasting sign which is not cut off.
Barak Yahuwah, Barak Yahuwah. Seek him while he may be found by you. Knock and seek and ask, and do not give up until he sends his breath, until he sends his ruach, until you become born from him, taken from his side, becoming a Nazarene. Because only if we are attached to him in accordance with John the 15th chapter, only if we are attached to him as branches, being taken from his side as kuah, only in this way are we truly Yahudym, and are we Nazarene, and can we do the work of the master? Can we truly do the work of the master? Can we only in this way, can we truly bear the weight of the Torah? Only in this way can we truly bear the weight of the Torah. And if we are not found well doing, when he comes shortly, he's only coming to get Yahudah. If we are not found well doing, looking like him, acting like him, walking like him, talking like him, having been taken from his side, having been born of him, then we're going to be left here with Ephraim left to his chastening rod to drive the folly from us. So that we then become full-grown men and women, ready to be joined with the elder sister, the elder son, to be joined to our husband, the second Adam, to rule with him for 1,000 years, and to walk with him for 1,000 years as he continues to teach us his ways, as he continues to cleanse us and teach us his ways, in preparation for the wedding chamber, the last great day when we will enter that wedding chamber and we will become like Yahuwah in fullness. We will become like him. We will be just like him. We will become his bride, his counterpart, his Azar Nagab, his helpmeet. But it begins in this season, Yahudah. It begins in this season with us truly becoming Nazarene, with us truly being born from him, born of him, being taken from his side, being born of water and of blood, both being symbolic of spirit, being born of water and of blood. As Adam was born of water and of blood, he was taken from the soil, which was taken from the water. The earth was made from water. It was made out of water and by water. He was born of water and of blood. Adam was born of water and of blood, and we must be reborn of the water and of blood, taken from his side. As the water and the blood flowed from his side, we must be reborn of water and of blood, becoming a branch of him. A branch of him, of where the life-giving sap of the Ruach HaKodesh flows from the vine into the branches to us, giving us life, giving us the ability to bear fruit, causing us to look just like the vine, causing the branches to look just like the vine, and to walk like the vine, to talk like the vine, to do what the vine does. Only if we are attached to him can we fulfill the work, can we fulfill the calling. Come on, give us another precept, little one.
Philippians 2, 1 through 11.
Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2. Earlier the master said that meekness is the way. Low and meek is the way, or meek and low is the way. This is the way. We must walk exactly as our master walked. To be a true Yahudym. To be a true Yahudym means to be meek and low, just like our master. Meek and low, just like our master, not being standoffish, not being puffed up, but being meek and low. So as his meek and lowly act of being lifted up so as to draw all men unto him, as we are meek and low, just like him, perhaps men will be drawn to our light, the light that is emanating from us, that perhaps some will be saved from the hour of trial, which is soon to come in this season. Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2, beginning at verse 1.
There is any encouragement in Mashiach.
If there is any encouragement in Hamashiach, read.
If any comfort of love, if any fellowship of Ruach, if any affection and compassion, make my joy complete by being of the same mind.
Being of the same mind, read.
Having the same love, one in being and of purpose, doing none at all through selfishness.
Doing none at all through selfishness, read.
Or self-conceit. But in humility.
But in what?
Humility.
But in humility, read.
Consider others better than yourself.
Consider others better than yourself. Low and meek is the way to Mount Zion. Low and meek is the way to Mount Zion. This is the very nature and character of our master Yahushua HaMashiach. And if you are indeed a vine of his, a Nazarene, a true Yahudi man or woman, you will take on this very character and nature. You will be humble, just as he was humble. Read.
Each one should look out not only for his own interest,
come on,
but also for the interest of others.
Yes.
For let this mind be in you.
Let this mind, hear him. Let this mind be in you. Let this mind be in you. Understand the context here. It is said when man and woman are joined together that there is a soul tie. There is a soul tie. Soul being in the Abrahit Nafash. Nafash translates into mind. Our minds become joined. Hear him. Our minds become joined such that she takes on his character and his nature. His will becomes her will. His desire becomes her desire. This is why it is important, woman, that you be a virgin when you're joined to your husband, so that you are not battling all these other men's wills and desires that you've joined yourself to and bringing those problems into your marriage. And this is why these soul ties, woman and man, must be broken before you're joined to a renewed wife. In truth, they must be broken. But our minds become joined. As Paul declares, no one knows the mind of the man but the spirit of the man. No one knows the mind of Yahuwah but the Ruach of Yahuwah. And we have the mind of Mashiach. So then we know the mind of Yahuwah. Why? Because our minds are joined. There is a tie, a soul tie, a bond. When our Ruachs become one, when we become one, there's a bind, a bond, such that our minds become one, such that now we know his will and his desire, and then his will and his desire becomes ours. We die to our own will and our own desire, and his will and his desire becomes ours. Let this mind be in you, in you, in you. If his Ruach has entered into us, as a man enters a woman, whereby then we become born of him, having been taken from his side, being a branch. If this has occurred, then his mind will be in us. His mind will be in us, and we're going to indeed begin to take on his nature and his character, just like Shaul. When you read the writings of Shaul, it's hard to distinguish it from the HaMashiach. In fact, he says to follow me as I follow Mashiach. He talked just like him. He looked just like him. He was a Nazarene. He was a Nazarene, and he was sent to the nations to bring the good news, to bring the Bashorah, and to teach them how to be Nazarene, how to take on the very nature and character of our husband, Yahushua HaMashiach. Come on, read, little one.
Which was also in Mashiach Yahusha, who being in the form of Elohim.
Who being in the form of Elohim, listen here. If you have truly been born, this is Elohim. This is Yahuwah in flesh. He came as us. And as the master taught us this past Shabbat, that Adam was born to be a visible image of the invisible Elohim. Get the context. If you have truly been born, reborn, then we are to what? We are to be visible images of the invisible Elohim. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And although we have this understanding that if we have been truly born of him, that we have been restored to be visible images of the invisible Elohim, we lower ourselves. We don't boast in this. We don't boast in this. No different than our master. We don't boast in this. We walk meekly and lowly amongst men, just like our righteous forefathers, just like Abraham, Yitzchak, and Jacob, just like Yahushua HaMashiach. We walk meekly and lowly. As it was said of Masha, he is the most humble man. He said he was the most humble man in the world, on earth. This is the blueprint. This is the DNA of our forefathers. Walking meekly and humbly. As Abraham, when he bought the cave of Machpelah, already knew that the cave was his and the land was already his. Did not let them know that the land and the cave was already his, yet he bought the cave as though it wasn't his. Walking meekly and lowly. Although you know that you have been restored or recreated to be a visible. If you've been reborn from his side, if you are an extension of him, you are him. If you are an extension of him, you are him. Him and you and you, him and us and him. We take on his image, his nature, his character. And as he is, we are. Oh, we're going to read some things in Matthew that's going to blow your mind that he did. And the understanding is now that if you are attached to him, we're to walk in the same way. In the same way as visible images of the invisible Elohim, yet not boasting in this, walking meek and lowly. Come on, read.
Did not regard equality with Elohim a matter to be grasped, but emptied himself, taking the form of a servant, and came to be in the likeness of men. And having been found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death.
He did what?
He humbled himself.
He humbled himself and became obedient even unto death. Read.
Death even of a stake. Elohim therefore has highly exalted him.
You want to be exalted, Yahudah? You want to be exalted to Mount Zion? You want to be the first back into the land? This is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. Meek and lowly is the way. The proud are going to be left to suffer the fires of the great distress. The meek in this season are going to Mount Zion. and then back into our land. Come on, read, little one.
And given him the name which is above every name,
Mm-hmm.
that at the name of Yahushua every knee shall bow, of those in heaven, and of those on earth, and of those under the earth. And every tongue should confess that Yahushua Mashiach is master to the esteem of Elohim the Father.
Barak Yahuwah. Now, ultimately, you've learned this now. If we're meek and lowly, it's going to end up with us becoming like our master, being created a Lord in Elohim, being created to be his counterpart, his Azan Nagab, his helpmeet, to rule with Elohim, as the name Yahshua means, to rule with Elohim, to be exalted to this state. This is the example. This is the example. To be exalted there, meek and lowly is the way. To get to Mount Zion, meek and lowly is the way. To get back into our land first, meek and lowly is the way. Even in looking like him, even in doing great works, even in doing the great works that he's called us to do, meek and lowly yet is in the way. He will not give his gifts. He will not give certain gifts to certain people because of the prideful nature that is in them. But the gifts and callings that he is giving in this season, as he is sealing his people with the seal of the living Elohim, are given to the meek and the lowly. Those who are sealed for redemption, those who are sealed to be brought to Mount Zion, and those who are walking as Nazarene. This is the meek and the lowly. The meek and the lowly. You ain't operating in gifts? Check your pride. Check your pride. Check your pride. Gifts will be given to the meek and the lowly in this season. Come on, read, little one.
Matthew chapter 4.
And so now, Barak Yahuwah, meek and lowly is the way. And as we now begin to look through the book of Yahuwah, Matthew, looking at how our master walked, and looking at his example, ensuring that we are attached to him, that we are Nazarene, that we are branches of him, walking in the same way, taking on his very character and his very nature, looking like him, being his counterpart on earth, being his helpmeet, his Azan Nagab. We now, having the foundation being laid, meek and lowly is the way. To be a Yahudi, to be called a Yahudi means to be meek and lowly. To be a Nazarene means to be meek and lowly. Having the foundation now laid. Now, let's take a look now. How we looking for time, little one?
57 minutes.
Let's take a look now as we read a couple of chapters here and a couple of chapters there. Not too much at a time, but looking at the example of our master and letting the master unveil and reveal to us how a true Yahudi and how a Nazarene is supposed to look and is supposed to walk. This is important in this season if you desire to be taken with Yahudah to Mount Zion and to be kept from the hour of trial which is soon to come upon this earth. Matthew chapter 4. Matat Yahu chapter 4. Matat Yahu, Matthew chapter 4. Matat Yahu chapter 4. Here in the 4th chapter of Matthew, it's on the heels of our master having been immersed into Yahuwah, having been immersed by Yahuwah and the Ruach HaKadosh descending upon him. And the master made the case there that that true Yahudi who are Nazarene must be immersed, must undergo a water immersion, and must undergo the breath, the fire, must receive the breath, the fire, of the fire immersion of the Ruach HaKadosh. This is what a true Yahudi, a true Nazarene must undergo. Must undergo. He must be immersed. He or she must be immersed in a water immersion. We're not going to explain that again. And he or she must be immersed by the fire of the Ruach HaKadosh in order to be considered a true Yahudi. and a true Nazarene. So here now in chapter 4, on the heels of this happening, the Ruach HaKadosh here leads our master into the wilderness to be tried, to be tested. Indeed, I don't know about you. I don't know about some. I don't know about some of them little ones. I don't know. But we being tried, and we are being severely tested. But that's part of the playbook. That's part of the plan. That's part of making us perfect. Barak Yahuwah, in the words of James or Yahuwah, count it all joy, count it all gladness when faced with various trials, knowing that the testing of your belief produces patience. So let patience have its perfect work, so that you are perfect and complete and lacking nothing. That's part of the plan. These trials, these fiery trials, little one, that's part of the plan. That's part of the plan of making a Yahudi man, of making a Yahudi woman. That's part of the trial. You know, as Marines go through that grueling boot camp, they have to go through a process of what they call making Marines. Barak Yahuwah, and it is a fiery trial. It is one of the most difficult boot camps in the world, but it is the most difficult basic training in the entire American arsenal. It is the most difficult one in order to complete. And so in this fiery trial, they call this the making of Marines. And so indeed, a true Yahudi man, a true Yahudi woman, you have to be made. Indeed, don't think just because you've received breath, you've received ruach, you've become born from his side or taken from his side, that it ends there. No. There is the making of Marines. There is the making of Yahudi men and Yahudi women. There comes the fiery trial. There comes the fiery trial. This is part of the process. This is part of the process. This is Barak Yahuwah. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. Thank you, Master. As he spoke to his servant, I believe it was last summer, he spoke to his servant. He said that he was building me up now so that Hashatan could not tear me down later. And so I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for his building up through trials so that the adversary cannot tear us down later. So part of this process of becoming Yahudi men and Yahudi women is to go through the fiery trial. Yes, it is. It's to go through the fiery trial. So we're going to follow his footsteps. He went through a fiery trial. He went through fiery trials. And so did his taught ones. And so must we. So must we. And we must be found trustworthy, Yahudah. We must be found trustworthy. In fact, I say it again. Revelation chapter 3. It says there that we're going to have very little power, very little strength left. Yet we have guarded and kept his word of endurance. That means that we're going to go through some trials. We're going to go through some fiery trials. It's part of the plan. It's part of the plan of making Marines, of making Yahudi men and Yahudi women, proving us to be trustworthy. Do you not understand that is a great prize? Mount Zion is a great prize that only 144,000 and those attached are going to see. 12,000 from each tribe. You say that you're Yahudah, there's only 12,000 coming from the tribe of Yahudah going to Mount Zion. That's a great prize. That's a great prize. And so we must endure the fiery trial to be considered true Yahudi men, true Yahudi women, true Nazarene. We must endure the trial. It's coming. If you're not in one yet, stand by. It's coming. It's coming. If you're not in one yet, then perhaps you have not been taken from his side yet. But the moment the Master Yahuwah proclaimed those words, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased, he was led into the wilderness to be tried, and the adversary followed him. He followed him to try him and tempt him and to cause him to fall. If he's not doing that to you, perhaps you haven't been taken from his side yet. Perhaps you're not a Nazarene yet. But if you are, stand by for the fiery trial. Matthew, Matat Yahu, chapter 4, beginning at verse 1. Come on, read, little one.
Then Yahusha was led up by the rook into the wilderness to be tried by the devil.
To be what?
To be tried by the devil.
To be tried by the adversary. Come on.
And after having fasted 40 days and 40 nights.
And after having fasted 40 days and 40 nights, hold up. What you need to understand here is that this is a duality being played out here. YAHUAH'S is both the woman and the son, the firstborn son. YAHUAH'S is both Kua and Adam, because male and female he created them. He created man in his image. Male and female he created them. And so there is a duality being played out here. Yes, he is the second Adam. And yes, YAHUAH is the woman. But he as the second Adam is what? Is a representation of us. He is Yahuwah. And he came as his firstborn son, which is Adam. And by extension, YAHUAH. He came as his son. And so, as his son, YAHUAH went into the wilderness for 40 years to be tried in accordance with Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. As YAHUAH went into the wilderness to be tried, now here we find our master coming as his son and walking in our footsteps. He goes in the wilderness to be tried for 40 days and 40 nights, each day equivalent of 1 year. Come on, read, little one.
He was hungry, and the trier came and said to him, if you are the son of Elohim.
Oh, you better pay attention to these words. He is Yahuwah. He is Yahuwah. Yahudah. If you are the son of Elohim, do you hear him? If you are the son of Elohim, he came to show us. He walked in our footsteps. We are the son of Elohim. He only has one firstborn son. We are the son of Elohim. If you are the son of Elohim, this is what it means to be a Nazarene. If you truly a Nazarene, having been taken from his side, we can do what he did. Come on, read, little one.
Command that these stones become bread.
Command that these stones become bread.
But he answering said.
It
has been written.
It has been written.
Man shall not live by bread alone.
Man shall not live by bread alone.
But by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah.
But by every word that comes from the mouth of Yahuwah. Now he's repeating the words in Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter. As the son and the woman used interchangeably. As the son and the woman was drawn into the wilderness to be tested and tried for 40 years in order to see what was in their heart and to test them and to show them that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of Yahuwah. He walked in our footsteps. This is us here walking. To walk as a Nazarene is to walk as a son of Elohim, as the son of Elohim. To walk as a Nazarene is to walk as the son of Elohim. He only has one son. He is Yahuwah. Yahuwah has one son. One son. And if we have been born of him, born of Yahuwah, we become sons and daughters of the living Elohim. And we are to walk as he walked. We are to look like him and walk as he walked. This is what he is calling of us to do in this Muadah Yahudah. To stand up and to walk as he walked. To walk as sons of the living Elohim. Not serene, being taken from his side. And if we have been taken from his side and taken on his character, his nature, and his identity, we do what he did. We are to do what he did in this Muadah before he takes us up and brings us to Mount Zion. So that perhaps some will be drawn out of darkness into his marvelous light and be saved from the hour of trial which is soon to come upon this earth. Come on, read, little one.
Then the devil took him up into the Kadush city. Set him on the edge of the Kadush place.
Yes.
And said to him, if you are the son of Elohim.
If you are the son of Elohim. He is Yahuwah. This is us. this. Do no longer be children. No longer be children in your understanding. This is us. If you are the son of Elohim, he has one son. And if we are born of him, we are his son. We are his Yahid, his only begotten. If we have been born of him, and then we are to, and if we have been truly born of him, we are to take on the nature and the character of Yahushua HaMashiach. We are to look just like him. We are to look just like him. And in this season, that's what he's calling true Yahudah, his true Nazarene, to look like. Come on, read, little one.
Throw yourself down, for it has been written, he shall command his messengers concerning you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, so that you do not dash your foot against a stone.
What did he say?
Yahushua said to him,
read.
It has also been written.
It has also been written, a true Yahudi man or woman, a true Nazarene, has the Torah written upon their hearts. They are living Torah. They are living Torahs unto themselves. And know that this is how you fight the adversary. It's through the sword of the Ruach, which is the word of Yahuwah, which is his Torah. Read.
You shall not try Yahuwah your Elohim. Again the devil took him up on a very high mountain and showed him all the reigns of the world and their esteem, and said to him, all these I shall give you, if you fall down and worship me. Then Yahushua said to him, go, Hashatan, for it has been written, you shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and him alone you shall serve. Then the devil left him, and see, messengers came and attended him.
He said nothing about all that, because all that was already his, little one. It was his. He didn't give it away because he still had to die to restore all of that back to himself, to bring all of that back to himself. The last thing to be, we just read Philippians 2, did we not? All has been placed under his feet. The last thing to be placed under his feet is death. And so if we are in him and him in us, every place where our feet touch the soil is ours. He will give unto us. He will give unto us. He didn't even bother to fight with it. Go away, Hashatan. It has been written, you shall not try Yahuwah thy Elohim. No need to even discuss this, because when I die, when the penalty has been satisfied, when there's been a blood payment, all this going to be reconciled back to me and placed underneath my feet. And if we are in him and him in us, we ought to act that way, little one. Oh, preach to yourself, teacher. Preach to yourself. We ought to act that way, little one, and walk in the boldness and the confidence of this truth as true Yahudi and true Nazarene. Come on, read, little one.
And Yahusha, having heard that Yahudim had been put in prison, withdrew into Galal. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Kafar Nakum, which is by the sea, in the borders of Zabulun and Naphtali, to fulfill what was spoken by Yeshayahu the prophet, saying, land of Zabulun and the land of Naphtali, the way of the sea, beyond the Yahudym, Galal of the nations. The people who sat in darkness saw a great light, and upon those who sat in the land and shadow of death, light arose to them. From that time, Yahusha began to proclaim and to say,
come on, what did he say?
Repent.
Repent.
For the reign of the heavens has drawn near.
For the reign of the heavens have drawn near. Barak Yahuwah. And this same message which has not changed from the very beginning until now. Repent. All of you who are under the sound of my voice, whether you're here on Zoom or whether you're going to hear this later on YouTube. Repent. If your nature and your character doesn't line up with Hanatsah, the branch, then you are not a Nazarene. You must repent if you desire to be delivered from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon this earth. And his words are still resonating. A time is coming soon, if you do not repent, that you're going to search for him and he will not be found. A time is coming soon when you're going to look and search for the word of Elohim, but he is going to withdraw his word. He is going to withdraw his word. When the false Mashiach, when Hashatan in flesh comes upon this earth and has a legal right to this earth and to enforce his will and his desire upon this earth, you're going to search for him and he will not be found. You're going to search for his word, but it will no longer be there. Teshuvah, repent while you still have time. And if you desire to escape the hour of trial, you must attach yourself to Yahudah through HaNasar, through Yahushua HaMashiach, whereby being born from him, whereby being taken from his side, and whereby being called a Nazarene, whereby being called branches of the branch. Matthew chapter 5.
Oh,
we still got some?
Yes.
I'm sorry, little one.
That's okay. And Yahushua, walking by the sea of Galal, saw two brothers, Shamun called Kapha, and Andra his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, follow me, and I shall make you fishers of men.
Follow me, and I shall make you fishers of men. Do you not understand that this is the season of the fishermen? In accordance with Yahudym, Jeremiah chapter 16, this is the season of the fishermen. He says, at first I will send fishermen to get you, and then hunters. What's coming afterwards is the hunters. And they are going to hunt you. All of you who are under the sound of my voice, who will not repent, they're going to hunt you out of clefts of rocks and out of thick groves. And they're going to hunt you as you flee from city to city. And as you hide, they're going to hunt you. They're going to hunt you because you refused to heed the words of the master while you had time. Come on, read, little one.
And immediately they left their nets and followed him. And going on from there, he saw two other brothers, Ya'akub, the son of Zabdai, and Yehukanan, his brother, in the boat with Zabdai, their father, mending their nets. And he called them. And immediately they left the boat and their father and followed him. And Yahushua went about all Galal, teaching in their congregations and proclaiming the good news of the reign, and healing every disease and every bodily weakness.
And healing every disease and every bodily weakness. If we are Nazarene, if we are true Yahudi, if we are true Nazarene, we are to do the same. Heal every disease and every bodily weakness. You know, the problem is this, Zion, our Zoom family, the nations are hungry. The nations are hungry. There is a beloved one who was amongst us from among the nations in New Zealand, who was hungry and who believed, who had a detached muscle from his shoulder, who was in pain constantly, but he believed and the pain was taken away. You see, your problem is, most of you Zoom family, is that you've become too familiar. You've become too comfortable. And that has stunted your belief. You see, the master himself couldn't do many works in Nazareth, his hometown, because he was familiar to them. They know who he was. They knew him. Is this not the son? Is this not the carpenter's son? A prophet has no honor in his own country, his own town, and so he could not do many works there because of their unbelief. You've become too familiar. You've become too comfortable. Too familiar and too comfortable. But a true Yahudi, a true Nazarene, ought to walk as he walked, healing every disease, every bodily illness, and casting out devils. Come on, read, little one.
And news about him went out into all Syria, and they brought to him all who were sick, afflicted with various diseases and pains, and those who were demon-possessed, and epileptics, and paralytics, and he healed them. And large crowds from Galal and Decapolis and Jerusalem and Yehuda and beyond the Yahudym followed him.
Barak Yahuwah. This is what a true Yahudi man looks like. A true Nazarene. This is what he looks like. Those following him, the branches, they look just like this. They looked, past tense, and look just like this. Just like this. This is how we look. This is how we look. Not for our esteem. Not for our esteem. Not for us, but for the master's esteem. And so as to draw the nations out of darkness into his marvelous light is for his esteem. And his esteem alone. So as to restore his prized possession, his firstborn son, back into an everlasting covenant with him. Where we at, little one? Matthew 5?
Yes.
Matthew 5. How we looking for time? I think this is going to be our last chapter for tonight.
Just 1 second. 119.
Barak Yahuwah. This chapter is fitting. Meek and lowly is the way. We're learning how to be Nazarim, how that is supposed to look like. This is no longer a season for word service and lip service. We gotta, if we expect to get to Mount Zion, we've got to look like Yahudym men, Yahudym women. We've got to look and act like Nazarim. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like, and understand this. Understand this. In doing these acts, in healing the sick, in raising the dead, in casting out devils, this is Torah. This is loving your neighbor as yourself. This is Torah. This is the weightier matters of the Torah. This is operating in compassion. He was always moved to compassion, to heal those who were sick, to cast out devils and to raise the dead. It wasn't for his esteem. It was for the esteem of the Father. It was to draw men to the Father. And it was to operate as a living Torah. Torah is compassion. Torah is love. To cast out devils, to heal the sick, to raise the dead is an act of compassion. It is an act of Torah. This is Torah manifesting. Do you understand? This is Torah manifesting. This is doing the works of Torah. As we are to feed the poor, what are you going to do if there's no food around? We going to get to it later. Master, we got a few fish here and a few loaves of bread. We going to get to that later. I don't want to get ahead of it, but it's relevant right now. He said to them, what, little one? You feed them. You feed them. Is that not Torah?
Yes, sir.
That's Torah. You feed them. And with a few loaves of fish and a few loaves of bread, he fed 5,000, he fed 6,000. That's Torah. That's Torah manifesting. This is not for us to boast or to have some platform. This is so that we can actually become Torah made flesh to the esteem of the Father. This is so that we can actually become Torah made flesh and actually do the works of Torah. To actually do the works of Torah. You can't do, hear him. You can't do the works of Torah in the flesh. You can't do the works of Torah unless we are attached to him, unless we are branches of vine. This is the true works of Torah. Do you understand? This is the true works of Torah. This is the children's bread. This is the children's bread, the Ruach HaKodesh. This is the Torah made flesh. This is the true works of the Torah. Heal the sick. Wouldn't you want to be healed if you were sick? Feed the hungry. Wouldn't you want to eat if you were hungry? Well, what if there is no food? What then? What then? Are you going to be a Yahudi, a true Nazarene? Are you going to take up a collection plate? What if there's no food in the land? What if there is no food in the land? Then what? How you gonna be a Torah made flesh then? It's time to grow up, Yahudah, and no longer be as children, but to be as adults. This is what Torah looks like. This is the works of Torah. This is the works of Torah. All of this, raising the dead. If you were dead, when you want somebody to raise you, that's compassion. That's the true works of Torah. This is the true works of Torah on display, which is possible if we are truly sons of Elohim. if we have been truly taken from his side, being a branch, being identical to him. He came as us. I remind you again, he came as us to show us the way, to show us how to walk as Yahudym, how to be Nazarene, how to be sons of Elohim. Come on, read, little one.
But when he saw the crowds, he went up on a mountain, and when he was seated, his taught ones came to him. And having opened his mouth, he was teaching them, saying, Blessed are the poor in Ruach.
This is Matthew 5, Barak Yahuwah.
Yes, sir.
Barak Yahuwah. Baruch are what?
The poor in Ruach.
Baruch are the poor in Ruach. This alludes here again to being humble. To being humble. The poor in spirit alludes to being humble. Indeed, we ain't got off of this. Meek and lowly is still the way. Meek and lowly is still the way. He walked meek and lowly as a living Torah, doing the works of Torah, which we just read in the previous chapter, and in which we're going to see all through this book. All of this is the works of Torah. Not from a book, but actually doing the works of Torah. He did the works of Torah. And this is what he's calling us to do, Yahudym. To be grown folk, to be grown, and to do the same works of Torah that he did. Indeed, poor in spirit means to be humble. Come on, read.
Because theirs is the reign of heaven.
Theirs is the reign of heaven. The meek, the lowly, the poor in spirit. Theirs is the reign of heaven. Read.
Blessed are those who mourn.
Blessed are those who mourn.
Because they shall be comforted.
Because they shall be comforted. This is what it looks like, Yahudah, to be a Yahudi man or a Yahudi woman. This is what it looks like to be a Nazarene. Come on, read.
Blessed are the meek.
Blessed are the meek.
Because they shall inherit the earth.
Because they shall inherit the earth. And only the meek are going to Mount Zion. Only the meek and the lowly are going to Mount Zion. Only true Yahudi men and women, only true Yahudim who are Nazarene are going to Mount Zion, doing the very same works. The works of Torah. The works of Torah that our master did. Now, not all of us are going to have the same gifts. Not all of us are going to have the same gifts. Nevertheless, Nazarene will look like Nazarene. Will look like Yahudi. Will look like him. Come on, read.
Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness.
Baruch are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for obedience to the Torah. Righteousness is obedience to the Torah. Our righteousness is Torah made flesh. Righteousness is doing the works of the Torah. Doing the works of the Torah. Having a few fish and a few loaves of bread and feeding the multitudes, healing the sick, going and clearing out whole hospitals. Oh, he's setting the stage for us, little one. This so-called virus that has taken over the world. Oh, he's setting the stage for us, little one. He's setting it up nicely for us. Setting these things up nicely for us. Going into hospitals and telling everybody to get up out of there in the name of Yahushua. All esteem to the Master Yahuwah as he leads, being Torah made flesh, going there out of compassion and to draw men to him. Going into a morgue or going into a funeral where the person no longer has organs and the tongue is glued to their mouths. When they're in there mourning their loved ones and walking into a funeral and telling that person to get up out of that casket in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. In order to show them what a true Yahudi looks like. What a true Nazarene looks like. In order to give the esteem to the Father. To draw them out of that falsehood into his marvelous light. Showing compassion. Saving some. Having compassion on some. Snatching them even out of the fire. Come on, read, little one.
Because they shall be filled. Blessed are the compassionate.
Blessed are the compassionate. Torah is compassionate. Doing the works of Torah is compassion. The same works of Torah that Yahushua HaMashiach did, as we are to be doing as Nazarene. Oh, little one, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. See, some who come into this truth, little one, they come from the Baptist church. I ain't making fun of nobody, but this is the truth. They come from the Baptist church, and they come from many other denominations within Christianity that don't believe in the work, that don't believe in the works of the Ruach. They don't believe in the works of the Ruach. Some were Jehovah's Witnesses who don't believe in the works of the Ruach. And they don't know, because of that, they don't understand what a true Yahudi looks like. What a Nazarene is supposed to look like. And so they're missing the mark. They're missing the point. And they then are expecting to be taken with Yahudah to his Kadosh mountain, but they're rejecting the works of the Ruach HaKadosh. No different than the Pharisees, saying that this one cast out devils by Baal-zebul. And the master declared, if I cast out devils by Baal-zebul, who do your son cast them out by? And so they will be your accusers. I'm skipping some verses. But if I cast out devils by the Ruach HaKadosh, then the reign of Elohim has come upon you. You're rejecting the reign of Elohim. He goes on to say, therefore, every sin shall be forgiven, men. Except what? Except the blaspheming of the Ruach HaKadosh. Except the rejecting of the Ruach HaKadosh. Except the rejecting of the works of the Ruach HaKadosh. Oh, you're in danger. You're in danger. Rejecting the living bread. Rejecting the children's bread. Rejecting the works of the Ruach HaKadosh. Because you can't do the works of the Torah in which the master did unless you eat the living bread. Unless you become a Nazarene, having been born of him, having been born from his side. Your religion gonna kill you dead. Your religion gonna kill you dead. It's gonna kill you dead. Because you reject the power of the Ruach HaKadosh. You have a form of reverence, but deny the power. But you're denying its power, and which could set you free and which could heal you. You have a form of reverence, but you indeed deny its power. Come on, read, little one.
Because they shall obtain compassion. Blessed are the clean in heart.
Blessed Baruch are the clean in heart. It is the Ruach that comes and cleanses these hearts, little one. It is the Ruach who comes and cleanses these hearts when he circumcises the heart. When he enters us and he circumcises the heart, and he clothes our shame, and he clothes our nakedness, and he causes our hearts to be cleansed, because there's a rushing mighty water that enters us, the water, the living waters of the Ruach HaKadosh that comes in and washes and cleanses those inner places, even down to the Kilyah, even down to our innermost thoughts. It is he who cleanses our hearts. Baruch are the clean in heart. Come on.
Because they shall see Elohim.
Because they shall see Elohim.
Blessed are the shalom makers.
Baruch are the peacemakers, are the shalom makers.
Because they shall be called sons of Elohim.
Because they shall become sons of Elohim. What the master is teaching here, this is what Yahudi look like. This is what a true Yahudym looks like. We are shalom makers. We seek shalom with all men and separateness, for without which no man shall see the master. This is what a Nazarene looks like. This is what a Yahudi looks like. We are peacemakers. We are shalom makers with all men. We're not pushovers, but we are peacemakers and shalom makers with all men. Blessed are the shalom makers. For what?
Because they shall be called sons of Elohim.
Because they shall be called sons of Elohim. And you cannot be a shalom maker or a peacemaker and be called the son of Elohim unless the Ruach is into you, unless you have been born from his side as a branch, having become branches. This is what true Yahudym look like. This is what a Nazarene looks like. Come on, read.
Blessed are those persecuted for righteousness' sake.
Oh, I told you. I told you. If you are a true Yahudi, a true Yahudi, a true Nazarene, you are going to be persecuted for righteousness' sake. All men gonna hate you. You're gonna be humiliated. You're gonna be humble. No different than our master. This is what it looks like to be called a Yahudi. man or woman, this is what it looks like to be called a Nazarene. Come on, Baruch are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake. Come on.
Because theirs is the reign of the heavens.
Because theirs is the reign of the heavens, Yahudah.
Blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you.
But blessed are you when they reproach and persecute you, Yahudah, in this season. Read.
And falsely say every wicked word against you.
And falsely say every wicked word against you. And they're going to do so. If you truly walk as a Yahudym, if you truly walk as a Nazarene, they are going to slander you. They are going to speak falsely against you because they don't understand you. They will not understand you because you're no longer of this earth. You have been born from the Jerusalem above, and they are not going to understand you in the same way that they did not understand our master. Come on, read.
For my sake. Rejoice and be glad, because your reward in the heavens is great. For in this way they persecuted the prophets.
In this way they persecuted the prophets who were also not serene. Read.
Who were before you.
Who were before you.
You are the salt of the earth.
You, Yahudah, are the salt of the earth. You are the salt of the earth. We are the bearers of the renewed covenant. We are the bearers of the good news, Yahudah. He sent Yahudah into the nations. Yahudah, he's talking to Yahudym here. We are the salt of the earth, Yahudah. Not serene. We are the salt of the earth, the bearers of the renewed covenant, the bearers of the good news of the Ba'it Kadashah. Read.
But if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall it be seasoned? For it is no longer of any use but to be thrown out and to be trodden down by men. You are the light of the world.
You, Yahudah, are the light of the world. This is not written to Ephraim. He was divorced. He had been divorced for many years. For many years, over 1,000 years had he been divorced now. Nearly 1,000 years here had he been divorced now. This is not to Ephraim. This is written to Yahudym. We are the light of the world. We are to be living Torahs. We are the light of the world, to draw men out of darkness into the marvelous light of Yahuwah, to point men towards him. Read.
It is impossible for a city to be hidden on a mountain, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it shines to all those in the house. Let your light so shine before men.
Let your light so shine among men.
So that they see your good works.
So that they see your good works. Here again, the works of the Torah. The works of the Torah. And not only in word, but in power. The works of the Torah. Let them see your good works. The works of the Torah. So that what, little one?
And praise your Father who is in the heaven.
So that they praise our Father who is in the heaven. Our works, the works of the Torah, is to esteem our Master. And so as to draw men out of darkness into his marvelous light. We must, in this season, walk as Yahudi men and women. We must be the light to the nations in this season. While the light is still in the world, we must walk in this light, and we must be that light to the nations. We must be living Torah. There are lives at stake. There are many souls at stake in this season. There is an hour of trial, of distress that is coming upon this earth unlike the earth has ever seen, nor unlike the earth will ever seen before, will ever see again. There are lives at stake, and we don't have much time. Yahudah. If you're not found well doing, you're going to be left with them. If you're not found being a Nazarene, being branches, being a true Yahudym, we're going to be left with them. We must do now the works of our Father while it is day. Night is coming when no man can work. We must be lights. We must be lights. And we cannot be lights unless light is in us. And that light is the light of the Torah. That light is the eternal light of Yahuwah Al Shaddai. And if he is in us and we are branches, then the works that he did, we also will do. These works are Torah made flesh. These works are Torah being manifested, whether or not it is in power or otherwise. This is the Torah being manifested through works, whether it is through the works of the Ruach HaKadosh or otherwise. This is still Torah being manifested amongst us. And we must do the works of our Father while it is still day. Night is coming when no one can work. We must become adults now. We can no longer walk as children. We must put away childish things. If we call ourselves Yahudym, the elder son, the elder daughter, then we must walk this way. Now. And no longer walk as immature children. Hear his words. Hear them. Do not let these words fall on deaf ears or let them fall void to the ground. Hear him. Hear him. We must grow up and no longer walk as children, but as full-grown Yahudym, as Nazarim. We must do this in this season. I'll be left with the younger brother. I'll be left with him to be corrected with the chastening rod of the great distress. Come on, read little one.
Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets.
Do not come to think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets.
I did not come to destroy, but to complete.
I did not come to destroy, but to complete.
For truly I say to you, till the heaven and the earth pass away.
Till the heavens and the earth pass away. And this means after the completion of 7,000 years. This is after the millennial reign. This is after the 1,000-year reign of the Mashiach. Until the heavens and earth pass away. That's when this will pass away. That's when this will pass away. Read.
1 yard or 1 tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah.
1 yard, not 1 yard or 1 tittle shall by no means pass from the Torah. And again, this is another Hebrew idiom. The yard is the smallest letter in the Hebrew aleph bat. So as to show us that not even the smallest portion, not even the smallest detail of the Torah is to be ignored. A true Yahudi man, a true Yahudi woman, a Nazarene understands and knows this. A true Yahudi man, a true Yahudi woman knows how to also make a distinction between the spirit and the letter so as to also fulfill the Torah. To also fulfill the Torah and not discount, not even the least of it, not even a yard or a tittle of his Torah. Come on, read, little one.
Till all be done.
Till all be done.
Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands.
Whoever then breaks one of the least of these commands.
And teaches men so.
And teaches men so.
Shall be called least in the reign of the heavens.
Shall be called least in the reign of the heavens. And the master showed us that Yahudym had 2 other wives, 2 concubines. Baal and Zalpah. Who did not have the right of inheritance as a firstborn. Who did not have the right of inheritance. Who were not privy as a firstborn to the possessions of the father. Yet they were joined to him. Yet they were joined to him as wives, and he took care of them as concubines, as half-wives. The master has given us the understanding that in eternity, those who arise in the second resurrection, they're going to be least, but they're still going to be wives. They're still going to be wise. They're still going to be wise. There are some that are going to rule in eternity. Rule with Elohim. And there are some who are going to be ruled over as Zalpah and Baal were ruled over. Those who break the least of these commandments and teach men so will be called least in the reign. These are not true Yahudym, no. This is not true Yahudah. This is not Nazarene. These are not Nazarene. Because if you are a Nazarene, you walk as our master walked. He did not break one commandment. He walked in the Torah his whole entire life, even unto death, as even our righteous forefathers did. And if we are connected to him, we will walk in the self-same way. Come on, read little one.
But whoever does and teaches them.
But whoever does and teaches them, Yahudah.
He shall be called great in the reign of the heavens.
He shall be called great in the reign of the heavens. Why is this significant? Because the scepter shall not pass from Yahudah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh comes. And so if you're searching for true Yahudah is teaching the Torah in spirit and in truth. And true Yahudah is walking in the Torah in spirit and in truth. And in true Yahudah, you're going to find the priesthood. And in true Yahudah, you're going to find the dwelling place of Yahuwah. And true Yahudah, you're going to find the Torah, the righteous Torah being taught and not compromised. Come on, read, little one.
For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees,
unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and the Pharisees, who made up their own man-made rules and doctrines, they obeyed more of the traditions of men than of the Torah of Yahuwah. This should sound familiar to you, Christian. And any of you other religions who are listening, Islam or Buddhism or Taoism or whatever you call yourself. But in particular Christianity, because that false religion is the closest to the truth. But it is a mixture of man-made traditions. It is a mixture of pagan, man-made traditions and the truth and the Torah of Yahuwah. No different than the Pharisees. Unless your righteousness, Yahudah, exceeds that of the Pharisees, hear him. Hear him. That does not mean the letter. That does not mean the letter. You've got to obey in spirit and in truth. In ruach and in truth. And the only way to do so is to be a Nazarene. It's to walk as Yahusha. Yahusha was often called a heretic. He was often accused of breaking the Torah. Imagine that. The living Torah being accused of breaking the Torah. Because he walked the Torah. He was Torah made flesh. He did the works of Torah, which they could not do because they had not the Ruach and their father was the devil. The flesh cannot bear the weight of Torah. We cannot do the works of Torah in this wicked flesh. Our works must exceed that of the Pharisees. And there are Pharisees amongst us who call themselves Yahudym. There are a plethora, there are many Pharisees amongst us who call themselves Yahudym, who are full of the knowledge of righteousness, but void of the fruit of righteousness. They don't have the works of Torah. They don't have the works of righteousness, but they have the knowledge of it. Our works must exceed theirs. Come on, read, little one.
You shall by no means enter into the reign of the heavens.
Unless our works exceed theirs, the works of the Pharisees, unless our righteousness exceeds theirs, we by shall no means enter into the reign of Shamayim. Come on, read.
You heard that it was said to those of old,
yes,
you shall not murder.
Yes.
And whoever murders shall be liable to judgment.
Yes.
But I say to you that whoever is wroth with his brother,
yes,
without a cause shall be liable to judgment.
Listen here, the master didn't do away with the commandment to not murder. You're going to steal. You're still liable to the fires of Gehenna if you murder someone. But now here, he's dealing with the root of the matter. True Nazarim understand this because our hearts have been cleansed. He's dealing with the root of the matter here. And the root of the matter is the heart, from where sin proceeds, from where all wicked inclinations proceed. He's trying to cut it off at the path. He's dealing with the heart. It's still against the Torah to murder, Christian. He didn't do away with that command. He's dealing with the root of the matter. He's dealing with the very root, the very nature of the matter, which proceeds from the heart. Come on, read.
And whoever says to his brother Rakah shall be liable to the Sanhedrin. But whoever says you fool shall be liable to fire of Gehenna. Whoever says you fool is liable to the fires of Gehenna, to the lake of fire. To the lake of fire. Why? He's dealing with the root of the matter. Hear him. Hear him. You've heard that words kill. You've heard that words, they kill. You can destroy someone's soul. You can destroy someone's will to live with words, and you can kill them. You can murder them. To call someone a fool is to call them stupid. It's to call them, it's to say that they are like a Neanderthal. You can ruin that person for life. Some of you understand that.
Some of you understand the damage that you can do to a person by calling them a fool. You are murdering them. You're murdering. It's the same as murdering them because you're killing their soul. You're killing their will to live. And the master says here that you are liable to the fires of Gehenna. You're liable to go there because you have murdered them. This is still Torah. It's still against Torah to murder. It's still against Torah to murder. But now he's dealing with the heart of the matter. And now he's going deeper and saying that you can murder one. You can murder one by murdering their soul, by murdering their heart, by murdering their will and their desire to live, by calling them stupid. And he's going to deal with you. He's going to deal with you. A true Nazarim understands this. A true Nazarim understands this. When you cause a person to cry, when you cause them to shed tears, and you cause that hurt to come out because you have called them a fool, and you cause them to feel low and like they're dirt and like they're nothing, you have murdered them. It is the same as murdering that person. And you have transgressed the Torah. You have transgressed the Torah. He's dealing with perfection now. As a Nazarim is to be. He's dealing with perfection now. You don't have to take a gun and put it to someone's head and pull the trigger. You can call him a fool. You can call him stupid. Come on, read little one.
If then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you, leave your gift there before the slaughter place, and go first make shalom with your brother.
Now the slaughter place, now we know that we bring our slaughter offerings 3 times a day. If you know that your brother has an ought against you, before you bring your guilt to the altar because he won't accept it, you go to your brother and you clear that up. You speak to him in brotherly love and affection, and you clear that up knowing that he has an ought against you before you bring your gift to the altar 3 times a day. 3rd hour, 6th hour, and 9th hour, you go and you make sure that you clear up this matter. Clearing up matters of the heart. We're talking about perfection here. Because if we come from him, if we are born from him, then we ought to be perfect as he is perfect. Come on, read.
And then come and offer your gift. Be well-minded with your opponent promptly while you are on the way with him. Lest your opponent deliver you to the judge.
Yes.
And the judge to the officer. And you be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you shall by no means get out of there till you have paid the last penny. I
understand. This has a dual significance. If you need to make it right with your opponent here on earth before you meet the judge. You need to make it right with your opponents here on earth before you meet the judge, lest you be thrown into prison. And ain't no way you can repay that debt until he declares that debt is paid. And we understand that hell and Sheol is indeed a prison. It is prison. That place, that is a prison. That is a prison house. That is not eternal. That is not there forever. Hell gonna give up its dead. Yes, it is. And they're going to stand before the great white throne, before the judge. They're going to stand before him. So you make it right with your opponent here on earth before you be thrown into prison. That place of darkness. That place of darkness called hell or Sheol. You make it right with your brother or your opponent before you're thrown into that place. Come on, read.
You've heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not commit adultery.
Yes.
But I say to you that everyone looking at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery with her in his heart. You have heard that from old that those committed adultery, that what? That you shall not commit adultery. Christian, that commandment is not done away with. You shall not commit adultery. This is the Torah. But he's dealing now with perfection. He's dealing with the heart of the matter. Adultery proceeds from the heart. It proceeds from the heart. Now, I'm not talking to Christians here, so let's deal with Torah. Let's deal with Torah. If you stare at another man's wife, because the only way to commit adultery is with another man's wife, to lie with another man's wife. And so if you stare at another man's wife with lust in your heart, you've committed adultery with that man's wife. Don't stare.
Don't stare at another man's wife. For that matter, don't stare at another woman. Because it's either you committing adultery or you committing whoredom. Because if you're simply staring at another woman, first of all, you don't know if she's married or not. And if she's married and you're lusting after her, you're committing adultery in your heart. The penalty is still death. The penalty is still death. But even if she isn't married and you're lusting at her, you ain't lusting at her to be your wife. You're lusting at her to lay with her. You're committing whoredom with her. The penalty for whoredom is still death. The penalty for whoredom is still death. We're dealing with the meat of the matter. We're dealing with the heart of the matter. We're dealing with perfections. Don't stare. Don't stare. Do not even look at them, because you don't know if whether or not they are married woman or not. But even if they're not married, you're looking at them with the intent of committing whoredom with them. And that penalty is still death. We're talking about perfection in which a Nazarene is supposed to walk in. Come on, read.
If your right eye causes you to stumble.
If your right eye causes you to stumble.
Pluck it out and throw it away.
Pluck it out and throw it away. Nazarene, Yahudah, read.
From you. For it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Yahudym.
Than for your entire body to be thrown into the fires of hell. Because adultery is still death. Whoredom is still death. It is still death. Pluck your eye out. Turn your eye away rather than commit adultery with a woman, with a man's wife in your heart. Or commit whoredom with a woman in your heart because you're staring at them. We're grown folk. That's child's play. The flesh is child's play. That's being a child. What are you looking for? We have a greater prize, a greater reward that we are looking for. And you're going to give up that prize because you can't keep your eyes off of the beauty of a woman. Our father Yahudah warned us about this. Stare not at the beauty of a woman. Rather than go to the fires, the lake of fire, pluck your eye out. Yahudah, walk as a grown man and as a grown woman. You don't need to be staring either. Pluck your eye out rather than stare. Again, the only way for adultery to be committed is for a man to lie with another man's wife. It's to lie with another man's wife. Now you figured that math out. Nevertheless, rather than stare, pluck your eye out. We're talking about walking upright and perfect as our Father is perfect, dealing with the meat of the matter. This is what it looks like to be a Yahudi. This is what it looks like to be a Nazarene. Come on, read.
And if your right hand causes you to stumble.
If your right hand causes you to stumble. If you're using your right hand to masturbate, whether you're a man or woman, dude, that's not the activity of a Yahudi, of a Nazarene. If your right hand causes you to stumble, spilling your seed, masturbating, cut it off. Not literally. Don't say to someone that this man told you to cut your hand off. Get the context. But this is how serious it is. This is how serious it is. Don't let your body parts cause you to commit crime. Cause you to miss the mark, Yahudah. Cause you to miss going to Mount Zion. You must be perfect getting there. All who get to Mount Zion will be perfect and upright and blameless. Will be Nazarene. Will be true Yahudi. Men and women. Read, little one.
Cut it off and throw it away from you. Or it is better for you that one of your members perish than for your entire body to be thrown into Yahudym. And it has been said, whoever puts away his wife,
yes,
let him give her a certificate of divorce.
Yes.
But I say to you that whoever puts away his wife, except for the matter of whoring, makes her commit adultery.
Listen, he says here two things. It has been said, whoever puts away his wife, whoever sends her away, give her a certificate of divorce. This is two acts. This is two separate acts. To give her a certificate of divorce, then to shalak, to send her away. Here he is dealing with the putting away, with sending away. because a man may remarry, a woman may remarry in accordance with Deuteronomy chapter 24 if they are giving a certificate of divorce. But if they are merely sent away or put away, having not been given a certificate of divorce, they cannot remarry. If they go on and marry, they are committing adultery, as we're getting ready to read. I pray if there's a Christian living, this is the correct understanding and context of this text. Come on, read little one.
And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery.
And whoever marries a woman who has been put away commits adultery, because she's simply been put away and have not been given a certificate of divorce. The Mashiach did not do away with Torah. He just said it above. And the Torah declares that we may give a woman a certificate of divorce if we find a matter of whoredom in her. But these men, these Yahudym, were simply putting their women away as Yahudah was put away and not divorced. Was simply putting their women away, whereby diminishing their chances of survival. Because according to the Torah, the man is to provide food, clothing, and marital rights to his wife. He owns the property. He owns the means of providing for his wife. Without being attached to him, she has no access to any of this. And so that was cruel, to simply send her away and not give her a certificate of divorce so that she could remarry and gain another covering to take care of her. This is what he is addressing here. This is what he is addressing. If we are to send women away, there must be a reason. There must be a reason for sending them away. As Sovereign Dawood put away his 10 concubines after they had lain with his son Absalom. He did not divorce them, but he put them away, understanding that they had no choice in the laying with his son. And so he showed them compassion by not giving them a certificate of divorce, but he put them away, but he still continued to provide for them until the day of their death. So there's a difference between the putting away and divorce. And this is what the master is dealing with here. Come on, read little one.
Again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to Yahuwah. But I say to you, do not swear at all.
Do not swear at all.
Neither by the heaven, because it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great sovereign, nor swear by your head, because you are not able to make one hair white or black. But let your word yes be yes, and your no be no.
Let your word yes be yes, and your no be no. Come on, read.
And what goes beyond these is from the wicked one.
And what goes beyond these is from the wicked one.
You've heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth.
But
I say to you, do not resist the wicked.
He did not get rid of Torah. He did not get rid of this. He did not get rid of Torah. But come on, read.
But whoever slaps you on your right cheek, turn the other to him also.
Listen, he's talking to Yahudym. He's talking to Yahudym about other Yahudym. He's talking to Yahudah. He is not telling you to let someone slap you and attempt to do you harm. He's not telling you that. This is the same master who said, if you do not have a sword, go and sell your garment and buy one. If your brother slaps you, turn the other cheek. Give him the other cheek. But you are not called to let someone slap you and to do you harm. Understand the context. Come on, read.
And he who wishes to sue you and take away your inner garment, let him have your outer garment as well.
We don't sue one another. This is Torah. We don't sue one another. This is what the nations do. We don't sue one another. We rightly rule between one another. This is addressed with Paul when he's talking about why can't you judge one another? Why can't you rightly rule with one another? Why do you go to the nations to be judged? Why are you suing your brothers? Will we not judge the nations? Will we not judge messengers? So you ought to be able to rightly rule between one another. We don't sue one another. This is Torah. This is right ruling. We rightly rule between one another. We don't sue one another. He's still teaching Torah. Come on, read.
And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with him too.
Go with him too. This is loving your brother as you love yourself, or loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Read.
Give to him who asks of you.
Give to him who asks of you. Hear him. Hear him. This is understand the context here and understand the time. If you have a means of providing for yourself here, if you own land or houses or fields, and you're able to work those fields and provide for yourself, this isn't you. Even if you are a brother in accordance with the Torah who is fallen on hard times, and in accordance with the Torah, your brother takes you in as a hired servant, but then you work for your food and he is not to charge you interest for your food. This is not for you. But if you are one who is lame, who is sick, who is unable to work, who is unable to either work for your brother, or who is unable to either provide for yourself, it is these that we are not to deny. We are to give to them if they ask for us, akin to the man that was at the gate as Kapha and John went at the, I believe it's the third hour of prayer. And he was begging for alms, and they said to him, silver and gold have we not, but such as we have, we give unto you. This is for them. We are not Christians. Don't let guilt fall on you. If an able-bodied man is standing on a street corner at a traffic light with a sign asking for money, asking for alms, don't let guilt fall on you. All things according to the Torah. All things according to Torah. We give to those who ask of us, who are sincerely poor, who have no way of earning or providing for themselves, either of their own hands and of their own accord, or either living with another brother or sister and working for their food while they're there. This is for someone who is lame or sick or crippled, who cannot work for themselves. Come on, read, little one.
And from him who wishes to borrow from you, do not turn away.
So this is Torah. This is the Torah. Because again, the Torah tells us what? That we're not to glean the corners of our field. Leave that for the poor. Leave that for the widow, for the stranger, for the orphan. In other words, let them go get it themselves. Let them go gather it themselves. Don't pick above you or pick behind you. Leave that for the widow and the orphan and the stranger. In other words, let them go get it themselves. And so to give to someone who asks is to those who can't do that themselves. Who can't. There are mechanisms in the Torah for feeding the poor. There's the tithe. And there's not the gleaning the corners of the field, or reaching above you or reaching behind you, leaving some for the poor of the land so that they can eat. And so this poor here is the poor of the man on the side of the road who could not see, begging the master to heal him. It's the man being lowered down through the roof for the master to heal him. It's the man by the pool of Bethesda and the master asking him, would he be healed? And he answering, yes, master, but I have no man in which to carry me. This is who the master is talking about. All things according to the Torah. All things according to Torah. Come on, read, little one.
You heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those cursing you, do good to those hating you, and pray for those insulting you and persecuting you.
It is not written. It was heard. It was passed down. It is not written anywhere that you should hate your enemy. In fact, the Torah says, if your enemy oxen is stuck in a ditch, you get him out. You get his oxen out of the ditch. And so we are to love both our enemies and our brothers alike. We are to love them. We are to continue to love them as our master continues to love us. We're not called to like one another, Yahudym, because another Yahudym can be your enemy. We're not called to like one another. We're called to love one another. We're called to love one another, and love is an action word. It is action. Love is Torah. We're called to operate in Torah. Whether we agree with them or not, we're called to operate in this Torah. Come on, read.
So that you become sons of your Father in the heavens, because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too?
So we don't do that. We don't do that, Yahudah. If your brother needs you, whether you're angry with him or you're mad with him, or he's mad with you, or he has an ought against you, he's your enemy. We're still to do good to our enemies. If he needs something from us and we have it within our means to give it to him, we're to give it to him. This is Torah. This is what our Father does, and we're to do the same thing. This is perfection. This is doing the works of Torah. Come on, read.
Therefore, be perfect as your Father in the heaven is perfect.
Therefore, be perfect as your Father in Shamayim is perfect. And only the perfect in the way, only the low and the meek and the humble, only Nasarim, only true Yahudym are going to make it to Mount Zion. Only these. He's only coming for the elder daughter. He's only coming for the elder wife, the elder son, to take us to Mount Zion, who are doing the works of the Torah. Doing the works of the Torah, being adults, being perfect as he is perfect. Doing the works of the Torah. He is only coming to get these in a short while, to bring us to Mount Zion and to give us a song in which no one else can sing. Thank you, Master Yahuwah, for the word that you have brought forth this night. We thank you for the preparation that you are bringing forth in this season, preparing your people, preparing true Yahudah, true Nasarim, to take on your identity, to take on your character and your nature, to be living Torahs, to do the works of Torah in this season, to exalt you through our works, so that you may be esteemed through us, so that men may be drawn out of darkness into your marvelous light, into the bond of covenant with you, and perhaps saved from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon this earth. It is my prayer, Master, that not one word this night has fallen void to the ground, but that it will indeed accomplish that which you have sent it forth to do. It is my prayer, Master Yahuwah, that not one word is fallen by the wayside, and that not one word is fallen on shallow ground, and that not one word, not one seed has fallen amongst thorns, but that this word, this seed, has fallen on broken up soil, soil that is conducive to the planting of seed. And it is my prayer that you will now pour out water upon that seed, living water upon that seed, so that the hearers of this word will begin to bear fruit, the fruit that leads to everlasting life, and the fruit that will lead us in this season to Mount Zion, and having been kept from the hour of trial, which is soon to come upon this earth, walking perfectly as you are perfect, bearing fruit that is well-pleasing unto you, fruit that is seen of all, that is recognizable by all, that is recognized as being something different, and recognized as being some tasty and delicious, that those who are hungry and thirsting for righteousness will desire. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach, so be it. For those of you who are on YouTube, once again, we're grateful that you have stopped by to spend our midweek gathering with us. This YAHUAH'S Remnant midweek gathering. We pray once again that you have been edified, that you've been challenged, that you have been convicted, and that even now you are conforming yourself with the words that are being spoken, so that you will be found worthy and well-doing when our Master comes shortly to gather his elder daughter, his elder son, Yahudah, to deliver us from the hour of trial, to bring us to his Kadosh mountain, and then to our land, but to bring us to his Kadosh mountain, where we will be given a song that no one else can sing. Until the next time, Yahuwah barak you and guard you. Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor unto you. Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you shalom. Thus you shall put my name on the children of Yasha'al, and I myself shall barak them. So be it, so be it, so be it.